Hey, blues fans. Welcome. It's time for another episode of This Week in the Blues. It's our weekly take on blues history. I'm your host, Jimbo Big Train Madsen, with the blues band Big Train and the Locomotives. So let's take a look and see what happened this week in blues history. Blues musician Washboard Sam Brown was born July 15th, 1910. He was reputedly the half-brother of Big Bill Broonzy. In the 20s, he performed with Sleepy John Estes and Hammy Nixon in Memphis. In the 30s, he moved to Chicago, performing regularly with Broonzy, Memphis Slim, and Tampa Red. In 1935, he began his recording career, becoming one of the most popular Chicago blues performers of the late 30s and 40s, selling numerous records and playing to packed audiences. He recorded over 160 tracks in those decades. Blues harmonica great Willie Cobbs was born July 15, 1932. Cobbs is best known for his classic You Don't Love Me, which has been covered by the Allman Brothers, Magic Sam, and John Mayall, among others. Born in Smale, Arkansas, Cobbs moved to Chicago in 1951, where he occasionally performed in local clubs with Little Walter, Eddie Boyd, and others. Cobbs released singles for various labels, and he ran nightclubs in Arkansas and Mississippi through the 1970s and 80s. He has performed at the King Biscuit Blues Festival and the Chicago Blues Festival. Soul and blues star Denise LaSalle was born July 16, 1939. After the death of Coco Taylor, LaSalle has been recognized as the Queen of the Blues. She was born in rural LaFleur County in Mississippi, and her family moved to Chicago in her mid-teens. There, she worked with the gospel group The Sacred Five. In 1967, LaSalle made her first blues recordings and continued to record both blues and gospel albums up until her passing in 2018. In 2011, she was inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame. Delta blues guitarist and pianist Richard Hacksaw Harney was born July 16th in 1902. He first entered the recording studio back in 1928, playing guitar on tracks by Pearl Dixon and Walter Rhodes. The loss of his murdered brother, a speech impediment, and naturally shy disposition were all factors in preventing Harney from achieving fame. He spent most of his working lifetime as an itinerant piano tuner and repairer. He predominantly played on street corners and in juke joints, but also had a spell on the King Biscuit Time radio show, based in Helena, Arkansas. However, Harney rarely recorded, and his belated solo album didn't come out until 1972. Well, here's a weird one for you. On July 17th, 1967, Jimi Hendrix plays his 8th and final show as the opening act for the Monkees, which understandably does not go well, as the 10-year-old bubblegum chewing Monkees fans want nothing to do with Hendrix. Go figure. July 17th, 1925 marks the birthday of Harrison Nelson, better known as Peppermint Harris. Originally from Texarkana, Texas, he first recorded in the late 1940s, accompanied by his friend Lightnin' Hopkins. In 1951, he had his biggest hit, I Got Loaded, which reached #1 on the U.S. Billboard R&B charts. He continued to record various singles through the 1950s and into the 60s, but none were as successful. He continued to record and play live over the next decades, working in both Shreveport and Sacramento, before recording his final album in New Jersey on the Home Cookin' label in 1995. Blues guitarist Johnny Burgin was born July 17, 1969. He's an extraordinary musician whose soulful playing and captivating performances have earned him a well-deserved reputation as one of blues' finest guitarists. With a career spanning over 3 decades and growing, Bergen has become a respected figure in the blues community, admired for his technical prowess, deep understanding of the blues tradition, and ability to connect with audiences. He also let me borrow his Firebird at a music jam in Clarksdale, Mississippi a few years ago. So, thanks, Johnny. Guitarist Lonnie Mack was born July 18th, 1941. Mack was a self-taught musician who developed a unique blend of blues, rock, and country that kind of defied categorization. Mack's virtuoso guitar skills were evident from an early age, employing techniques such as string bending, vibrato, and fast-paced solos. His signature instrumental track, Memphis, showcased his incredible talent and became a blueprint for future generations of guitarists. Chicago blues guitarist Buster Benton was born July 19th in 1932. Despite the amputation of parts of both legs during the course of his career, Benton never gave up playing music. During the 1960s, he cut a series of soul-slanted singles before hooking up with the great Willie Dixon in 1971. Benton was a member of Dixon's Blues All-Stars for a while, and Dixon is credited as songwriter of Benson's best-known song, the slow blues Spider in My Stew. Well, blues fans, we just covered some of the highlights here. Now, if you want to know more about these artists or other things that happened this week in the blues, and frankly, who doesn't, then be sure to follow our social media pages or visit our website at bigtrainblues.com. We'll have a new episode next week, so we'll see you then.